Hey, room 212 friends. We're going to pick up in The Lightning Thief where we were so rudely interrupted yesterday when my doorbell rang. These are interesting times, aren't they, guys? So we're reading The Lightning Thief. And again, I want to give a shout out to the publishers, since we are reading this online, Disney Hyperion, for letting us do this during the whole COVID epidemic, pandemic, whatever we're going to call it. But we're here together, and that's the important part. Okay, so we're on chapter 8, and they have been playing Capture the Flag. I think we're going to learn some interesting things about Percy in this section. Stay tuned, here we go. I felt myself getting angry. I wasn't even fazed by the fact that she'd just been invisible. "You set me up," I said. "You put me here because you knew Clarisse would come after me while you sent Luke around the flank. You had it all figured out." Annabeth shrugged. "I told you. Athena always has a plan. To get me pulverized." "I came as fast as I could. I was about to jump her, but you didn't need any help." Then she noticed my wounded arm. "How did you do that?" "Sword cut, what do you think?" "No, it was a sword cut. Look at it." The blood was gone. Where the huge cut had been, there was a long white scratch, and even that was fading. As I watched it, it turned into a small scar and disappeared. I don't get it." Annabeth was thinking hard. I could almost see the gears turning. She looked down at my feet and then at Clarisse's broken spear, and she said, "Step out of the water, Percy." "What?" "Just do it." I came out of the creek and immediately felt bone tired. My arms started to go numb again. My adrenaline rush left me. I almost fell over, but Annabeth steadied me. "Oh, sticks," she cursed. "This is not good. I assumed it would be Zeus." Before I could ask what she meant, I heard that canine growl again, but much closer than before. A howl ripped through the forest. The campers' cheering died instantly. Chiron shouted something in ancient Greek, which I would realize only later I had perfectly understood. "Stand ready! My bow!" Annabeth drew her sword. There on the rocks, just above us, was a black hound the size of a rhino, with lava red eyes and fangs like daggers. It was looking straight at me. Nobody moved except Annabeth, who yelled, "Percy, run!" She tried to step in front of me, but the hound was too fast. It leapt over her, an enormous shadow with teeth. And just as it hit me, I stumbled backward and felt its razor-sharp claws ripping through my armor. There was a cascade of thwacking sounds, like 40 pieces of paper being ripped at once, one after the other. From the hound's neck sprouted a cluster of arrows. The monster fell dead at my feet. By some miracle, I was still alive. I didn't want to look underneath the ruins of my shredded armor. My chest felt warm and wet, and I knew I was badly cut. Another second, and the monster would have turned me into 100 pounds of delicatessen meat. Chiron trotted up to us, the bow in hand, his face grim. "Die immortales," Annabeth said. "That's a hellhound from the fields of punishment. They're not supposed to..." "Someone summoned it," Chiron said. "Someone inside this camp." Luke came over, the banner in his hand forgotten in his moment of glory. His moment of glory was gone. Clarisse yelled, "It's all Percy's fault! Percy summoned it!" "Be quiet, child," Chiron told her. We watched the body of the hellhound melt into the shadows, soaking into the ground until it disappeared. "You're wounded," Annabeth told me. "Quick, Percy, get in the water." "I'm okay." "No, you're not. Chiron, watch this." I was too tired to argue. I stepped back into the creek, the whole camp gathering around me. Instantly, I felt better. I could feel the cuts in my chest closing up. Some of the campers gasped. Look, I don't know why, I said, trying to apologize. I'm sorry. But they weren't watching my wounds heal. They were staring at something above my head. Percy, Annabeth said, pointing. By the time I looked up, the sign was already fading, but I could still make out the hologram of a green, made of green light, spinning and gleaming, a 3-tipped spear, a trident. Your father, Annabeth murmured. This is really not good. It is determined, Chiron announced. Around me, campers started kneeling, even the Ares cabin, though they didn't look happy about it. My father? I said, completely bewildered. Poseidon, said Chiron. Earthshaker, Stormbringer, father of horses. Hail, Perseus Jackson, son of the sea god. So I'm going to stop us here. Show you the picture first, though. So if Percy is the son of Poseidon, one of the big 3, there's going to be some trouble there because of it. I want you to think of why that might be a problem for Percy, but also for the way the world works in this story. They've said that the big 3 are not supposed to have any kids, and Percy is the son of Poseidon. This is a big deal for them. Let's figure out why. Okay, that was the end of chapter 8. I'm going to go ahead, and that was only about an 8-minute video. I'm going to go ahead and stop this, but then I'm going to go ahead and start chapter 9-2 in a second video so that we can keep rolling with this. Talk to you soon, friends.